Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to episode 3 of the Ultimate Network Security Lab project. In episode 1 we talked about the low level design, the high level design. We then talked about Proxmox and then EVE-NG. In episode 2 we built our external part of the network, so the ISPs, the external routers, the external switches. We configured all of the routing that we needed and we dragged out the pfSense firewalls that we need for today's episode. So today's episode we are going to build our pfSense cluster. So let's review what we have to do today. In the last episode we built all this bit. We built the lab ISPs, the routers and the external switches. We've all of those configured and we've got all of those connected to these firewalls. So today we're going to look at firewall 1 and firewall 2. We're going to start off by dragging out some of these other switches that we need. We won't really configure any of these apart from this firewall management and the Kali server, but we're mainly going to focus on the firewall. So we will get our firewall cluster built first. We'll get the sync interface configured. Then we'll drag out the different things like connect the DMZs to these firewalls. Then we'll look at all of the other interfaces and VLANs that we need to configure. Once we've done that, we have to look at the additional firewall rules that we need. We have got some static routing we need to configure. There's these lag ports. There's quite a lot of stuff that we have to do on these firewalls. But the first thing we're going to do is get the firewalls built so we can get logged in. So this is pretty much how we left this design. Let's quickly go into one of these firewalls. I'm going to show you one of the changes that I've made. So if we edit this, if you go down, you need to change this console. Make sure this says VNC. We need to have it set to VNC just so it'll open up the VNC console properly so we can build the firewalls. So I've just went in here and changed the console to VNC. I've also renamed these firewalls as well, just so it makes sense. Before we turn these on, I'm just going to delete the link between the ISP on this Linux server because this is going to be over here. And I'm going to just add a few more nodes. So I'm going to add another 5 switches. 5. We can leave all this as default. Let's click on save. Now I'm going to just position these in place for what I need them. So these are going to be the DMZ switches. Then this one is going to be a management switch. Going to move it over there, and then these two are going to be the core switches. And we won't configure any of these switches today. We're just going to configure this management switch, and that's basically, there's very little on that anyway. So let's just get this stuff linked up. So looking at the low level design, we can see that the link between, let me zoom in, the link between the two firewalls is E7. That's going to be used for the sync interface. We've got E1 and 2. They're going to be the interfaces that are connected to the core switches. We have E5. That's going to be connected to the firewall management switch. Then we have got E6, and E6 is going to be connected to the DMZ switches. So let's go back and we'll just get all of this stuff connected. So we'll start up here. We're going to connect that to, we'll connect it to GI01. This is going to be on E6. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to do the same with this firewall. Connect the switch. This is going to be GI01, and then we're going to go E6. Between these two switches, I'm just going to connect them. So they are going to be connected on GI00. Okay. And the firewall management switch, so I'm going to connect this. So this was on E5. So E5 connected to GI00, which is fine. And we'll do the same with this firewall. So this one is going to connect down here. This one is going to go from E5 to GI01, hit save. And then finally, we will just connect the switch to this Linux server. So this is the Kali Linux machine. That's fine. So let's just get these firewalls turned on. Start. And I'm going to start this one. I'm also just going to select these 4 and start those 2. So let's just open up the firewalls and get started with the build. So I'm going to click on this, click on open Eve client, and continue. Just going to hit enter. So enter the WAN interface or type AF for auto detection. I'm just going to type in, because I know the WAN interface is going to be VTNet 0. I know the LAN is going to be in VTNet 1, so I'm just going to type in that one, VTNet 1. Then I'm just going to hit enter a bunch of times here. Now it's telling me that the interfaces is assigned as follows. So the WAN is in VTNet 0 and the LAN is in VTNet 1. So that's exactly what we want. So I type in Y for yes, and that's just going to go down through the build. While that's doing that, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to open up the other firewall and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to type in VTNet 0 for the WAN interface, And then I'm going to type in VTNet1 as the LAN interface. I'm just going to hit enter, and then it's going to show me the details, and hit Y for yes, hit enter again, and that is it done. So let's get both of these firewalls. I'll get them side by side so we can keep an eye on them. Okay, so that took a few minutes to build those both firewalls. So as you can see here now, both firewalls are configured. You can see it's given it this address, this 192.168.1.1 on both firewalls. So now that means that we have to remove this cable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this up here, and we're going to log into this Kali Linux machine. We're going to use this as a jump box, so we'll connect to this and we'll use that to configure each of those firewalls, and then we'll eventually come back and fix the networking up here. If you go back to firewall 1, which is this one, I believe, this one, yeah, you can see this is VTNet1, so we need to connect this server to this one, and we'll go on, oh, we need to shut this down first. So shut it down, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to connect this to E0 to E1. Perfect, so if we turn this one on, and then we'll turn this on, we should be able to get connected. We might need to configure some static IP details on this Linux server. So let's click on continue. We're just going to get logged in here. Let's just, first of all, let's check the networking. I want to make sure we're getting an IP address in the 192.168 range. So as you can see, that is currently there. So that's coming from the firewall we're connected. So let's see if we can get logged into the firewall. 192.168.1.1. Okay, I'll click advanced and I'm going to click accept. Let's just log in with the default credentials. The first thing I want to do is configure the management interface. I want to get that configured on both firewalls. That way I can connect both firewalls to the management switch and connect my Kali Linux machine to that switch. That way I'll be able to connect to both firewalls at the same time. So let's do that first. I'm just going to go into the assignments. Now, if you look back at our design, you can see the management interface is on E5. So let's go back over here. We need to add that. So we're going to add E5, click on add. I'm going to go into opt1 here. I'm going to rename this. So enable that. Change the name to management. We want to swap this down to IPv4. Then let's just go down and give this an IP address. So this one is going to be in the 10.100.100 range, and this firewall is going to be .252. We're going to set this to /24, and we're going to go down and we're going to click on save. Hit apply. Okay, so the interface is configured. Let's go to the firewall rules because we need to add a firewall rule to allow traffic to this management network. So click on add. I'm going to say pass IPv4 protocol. I'm going to set this as any. Then the source network, I'm going to set this to I can do the management subnets. Okay, and just click on save and apply. Okay, so we need to close out of this and we need to shut this down because we need to connect this to the other firewall now and pretty much do the exact same thing there. So let's delete this link between these two. And then we need to shut this one down as well. I'm going to connect this to this one, and it's going to be E0 to E1. That is perfect. Click save, and then we are going to just turn this on. So let's open up Kali again. We're going to go to that IP address again. So let's go in and we'll do exactly the same thing on this one. Admin and pfsense. I'm going to go to assignments, add the VTNet5. So we're going to enable this first, change the name to management. This has to be IPv4. This is 10.100.100.253 and /24, and just click on save. So let's just go in here. We're going to quickly add the rules. I'm going to click on add, switch the protocol to any, change the source to management subnets. Okay, just click on save and apply. So that's done now. Let's just shut down these firewalls and we'll get the two firewalls connected to the management switch and get our Kali Linux machine connected to that switch. So close out of this, right click on stop for both of these. We're going to delete this link between these two devices. Grab this, we're going to move it down here, and we're just going to get this connected to this switch. Just click on save, get it connected to any port, doesn't matter. So I'm going to select these two firewalls, I'm going to get them both started, then we'll start the switch, and then finally we will start this Kali Linux machine. Click on start. So I'm going to open up this server. We need to connect and modify the IP address, and it has to be in that 10.100.100 network. So let's just get connected and we will do that. Under network here, we are going to go in, click on wired settings, and we're going to switch this IP address. Under IPv4, I am just going to click on manual and do that. That 100 dot, let's just go 100. 10.100.100.254. So the IP is 10.100.100.100. It's a /24 network. And then the gateway is going to be 254. That's that virtual IP that I mentioned previously. So just click on apply. We might need to wait a minute before it comes up, but technically we should be able to get connected to the firewalls. Okay, so we can now see both firewalls. Let's log into this one. This one here, .252, this is going to be firewall 1. This will be the master. So we're logged in there, and let's go into the other one. Admin and pfsense. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into the system. Let's go to general setup, and I'm going to change the color of one of these firewalls, just the theme. That way you guys will know which is which. So this one here, I'm going to change this to dark. And while I'm here, I'm also going to add this DNS. So I want to use Google. And I'll just use one, that's fine. Click on save. Okay, so then go to the second one, and then I'm just going to do the exact same thing. Go into general setup. On this one, I just need to set the DNS. Go down at the bottom, click on save. So now we have access to both firewalls. If we look at the low level design, we're going to work on configuring the sync interface first, then we'll build the cluster, and then we'll quickly add all these VLANs and all these interfaces. That hopefully shouldn't take too long. On the master firewall, which is this one, the one in dark, I'm going to go back into interfaces. I'm going to first of all add the sync interface, which was number 7, so VTnet 7. I'm going to click on add. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add a sync name. I'm going to enable this. This one is going to be a static IPv4 again. Now for the IP address, we're going to give this a /30. So we'll do 192.168.50.1, and then we're going to give it a /30. So the other firewall will be 50.2. So click on save, and let's go back over to the other firewall and we'll do the exact same thing on that side. So we're going to add VTnet 7, click on add. I'm going to change the name of this one. I'm going to call it sync, and go down here. I'm going to go to static IPv4. Keep going, we'll put in the IP .50.2, and then this is a /24. So click on save, and that should be it. The two sync interfaces are now configured. The last thing that we need to do is just configure the high availability cluster, and it is pretty simple to do. All we need to do is click on system. We're going to go down to high availability. We're going to enable this. We're going to change this synchronization interface. We're going to set that to the sync interface. We're going to give this filter host ID. I'm going to set this to 1. Then we're going to go down. We are going to add in the IP address we just configured. So this is the IP address of the second firewall, 50.2. And I'm going to go in here, 192.168.50.2. Then we are going to go in, we're going to put in the password. I'm just going to use the password of the firewall. I'm not going to bother synchronizing the admin accounts. I'm just going to select all of these at the bottom and click on save. Update that. We're going to go to the firewall rules now for this interface. Just going to go into sync, and I'm going to add a rule here. So I'm going to add, I'm going to pass any traffic between these two interfaces. So I'm going to say, I could leave it as any, but I'm just going to do the sync subnets. Click on save and apply. So let's go and do that on the other side. So second firewall, I'm going to go to system, high availability, turn this on. I'm going to change this to sync. So I'm going to set this, so it's 192.168.50.1. So that's the other firewall, that's the master firewall. Now whenever you configure this cluster, you only ever configure the synchronized config IP on one side. So I'm going to set this on the master side, so not this one. So I'm going to skip this setting here, and then I'm going to put in the admin password. I'm pretty sure this is the firewall credentials, but I'm just going to type them in now. And I'm going to toggle all these on. I'm going to click on save. So the last thing we need to do on this firewall is let's go to the firewall rules, and I'm just going to add that same firewall I added on the other one. So click on add. I'm going to allow any. Then I'm going to set the source to the sync subnets, and then just click on save. Cool, okay. Let me just go back in and just double check. So sync. Oh, I missed this. Filter host. This needs to be set to 2. So you have this one, and then the other firewall will be 1. And click save. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the master firewall. I'm going to go up here, click on status, and I'm going to go down to this carp failover and see what shows up. So nothing is showing up here yet. Let me check this on the other side. Let's just add a virtual IP. We'll see if this will bring up the cluster. So click on firewall and then go down to virtual IPs. I'm going to click on add. Then I'm going to set this as carp. I'm going to change this to the management. So this is going to be the 10.100.100.254. That's going to be a /24. So this is something you would generally configure on both sides. So I'm just going to put in the firewall password. VHID group. I'm just going to set this one to 250. And I'm going to leave the rest. I'll put in the description here. Management VIP. Click on save. The clusters actually worked. We should be able to see the virtual IP on this side. Perfect. We can see that it's here. So let's go up here, click on status. We're going to click on this carp failover, and it should tell us what spot. So you can see computer host IDs, and you can see this virtual IP. The status is disabled. That will come online. What if I click on this? Okay, backup. Perfect. So now we have both firewalls up and going. We have got the management interface up and going. We have the management virtual IP. We've configured our sync interfaces and the cluster. We can just continue on now with configuring all of the other interfaces, the VLANs, the lag, the firewall rules, and I think that's it for the firewall actually. Over the past year of making videos on YouTube, I've had a lot of companies reach out to collaborate on different types of projects. I'm generally pretty selective about doing any of these. If you've been watching any of my other videos, then you would probably see that too. But I've been talking to a company lately, and to be honest, this was just absolutely perfect timing because it was something that I really needed for this lab project, and I genuinely think it's something that will really help you guys as well. So I want to thank TwinGate for supporting my channel and helping me build this entire lab project. If you don't know what TwinGate is a modern, secure way to connect to private company resources without using a traditional VPN. It creates encrypted direct connections between your device and the apps and services, making things much faster and safer and invisible to the public internet. It's like a private secure tunnel, but much smarter and easier to manage than those old school VPNs. My life has been absolutely hectic lately, so I've configured TwinGate that allows me to connect back to my home and build my entire lab from anywhere. Now the good news is there is a free version of TwinGate that you can use, and it is perfect for helping you configure this home lab. I'm not going to go through the entire setup of TwinGate, but let me show you how it works. So whenever you sign up to TwinGate, you sign up and you create yourself a URL. So mine is gerardbrand.twingate.com. Once you get logged in here, it asks you to go through a few different stages to set this up. You need to have a device on-prem that acts as a connector. That helps you connect to all of your resources on-prem. Now it's very, very easy to set up. You just have to click on deploy a connector, and there's so many different ways that you can do that. Follow down through those instructions. What I've literally done is I've just built a Ubuntu VM, and I've just went in here to Linux, created some access keys, and then I was able to copy this command and run that in Linux, and it just built my connector. It was absolutely zero hassle. So you need to do that first. Create your connector, and then you can come back here and add all of your resources that you want to connect to back at your home or your on-prem office or whatever. For me, what I've done is I went into the resources. I've added my pfsense firewalls. That's the firewalls that we are accessing within the lab. But then I've also entered in this lab LAN. So that is that entire lab subnet that I use all the time for most of my videos. So let me give you a demo and show you how it works. Right now, I can come up here. As you can see, I'm connected to this 1096.12.10. That is within this range. So this is my Proxmox server where I host everything. So all of the labs that I build is generally in here. Now I can clearly access this because I'm connected to my home network. If I was to disconnect my home network and connect to a separate internet connection, it doesn't allow me to connect to this. Let me show you what happens. I'm going to click on this, switch to this one, and if I try to open up, let's open up a new window. I'm going to type in the IP address of Proxmox again. As you can see, this isn't going to work. Technically I'm on a separate network, so I'm never going to be allowed to connect back. So let's just stop that one. If I open up TwinGate, Once you open up TwinGate, you'll see this icon at the very top. These are the 4 resources that I added and that I showed you earlier. Now I want to connect to this lab network. So for me, it's easiest just to authenticate here. So if I go over here and I just click on authenticate, as you can see now, this is going to open up TwinGate. This has actually authenticated me. So technically all I have to do now is go up here and I can just go through some of these IP addresses like I'm literally sitting at my desk. I can open up Proxmox, I can open up EVNG. Like, this just makes my life so much easier. So I wanted to share that with you guys. If you are interested in setting this up, maybe I will make an entire video to go through the entire process for this. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you want to see. There is a link in the description below. Go down there, click the link, follow through and set it up. As I said, it is free and it is genuinely a really good product. So now we have the cluster up. The good thing is that most of these configurations we can just do on the master firewall, and all of that stuff will sync over to the secondary firewall. So I'm going to focus on working on that firewall. Now let's go straight into the interfaces. I'm going to go into assignments and we're going to configure a whole bunch of stuff here. Now you need to come into interface assignments, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete this LAN interface. I'm going to delete that. Then we are going to go over to lag. This is going to be the interface that connects the firewall to our core switches, so we need to use a lag because we're going to have 2 different physical cables that's going to connect to those core switches. So click on add. This is VTNet1 and VTNet2, so just select both of them. For the lag protocol, we're going to hit this down to LACP. Then we're going to move on down. We're going to give this a description. So this is going to be the LAN lag. Click on save. Now we're going to go straight over here to VLANs. Now we're going to add all our VLANs. So we need to have VLAN 100. That is the VLAN that sits between the firewall cluster and the external routers. Then we're going to have VLAN 200. So that is the VLAN that sits between the firewalls and the core switches. Now the VLANs are pretty easy to add. We just need to click on add. We need to set the parent interface. Since we've just created the lag, this one here, we're going to select that one and we're going to set this VLAN to 200. That's going to be that VLAN that sits between the firewalls and the core switches. Priority, I'm going to set it as 1. Description, I'm going to say VLAN 200. Click on save. Then I'm going to go add again, and I'm going to set this to the WAN interface. I'm going to type this as VLAN 100. Again, we'll do priority 1 is fine. I'll do this as VLAN 100. Click on save. Now let's just quickly go over to the other firewall and see if all of this stuff has been synced. So interfaces, assignments. Oh, I don't think it has actually. It might not sync lags. Let's just double check. No, okay, so we have to do the interfaces manually. Okay, we can do that. We're going to delete the LAN interface on this side as well. Then we're going to go to lag. We're going to click on add. Then we're going to select VTNet1 and VTNet2. We're going to change this to LACP. Keep going down. We're going to set this, yeah, leave that as that. And then again, we'll put this as the LAN lag. VLANs, we need to do the same. Yes, we do actually, yeah. So let's just do the same again. So lag, this is going to be VLAN 200, priority is 1, and then we'll do VLAN 200. Click on save, click add again. We're going to add VLAN 100, 1, and then VLAN 100. Click on save. Let's go back to the master firewall now. There is one more interface that we need to add into this configuration, and that is the DMZ. So just click over in interface assignments. That one is going to be on, is it VTNet 6? It is, I believe. Then we're going to click on add. Then we need to change the name. So where is it? This one here. It's not LAN. We're going to change this to DMZ. Going to enable the interface. Let's go back to the network design. Let's double check the subnet we used. So that one is going to be on the 172.16.12.0. Okay, let's just go back to the firewall. It's going to be static IPv4. Put in the IP address 172.16.12. This one is going to be 252, and then we're going to do /24. Click on save, apply that, and then we're going to go over to the other firewall and do the exact same thing. We're going to add VTNet 6. Let's click on add, change this name from LAN, enable this. We're going to send this as DMZ IPv4, and then we will set this to 172.16.12.253. I'm going to swap this to /24. Go down, click on save. While we're at that, we might as well just configure the virtual IP for that network as well. So go back over to firewall, then virtual IPs. We're going to click on add. I'm going to set this as a carp. We're going to set this down to the DMZ, and we're going to put this IP in. So 172.16.12.254. We're going to set this as /24. Again, we'll put in the password for the firewall here. We'll leave this as, yeah, we'll use 251, that's fine. And the rest, we'll put this actually DMZ VIP, click on save. Now let's just double check both of them. So DMZ, this is here. Let's go up to the top, we will check the virtual IPs. I think I did it the wrong way around actually. I need to do it here again. Right, let's go and just check this stuff. So carp failover. So this is the master backup. How about this one? This one is master. Okay, that will sort itself out. So let's go back to the interface assignments now on the master firewall. So as you can see, we have the WAN interface with DMZ, we have the management, we have sync. We are missing the LAN interface, so we need to add that. So what you're going to do is you're going to come down here and you're going to set this to VLAN 200 on lag 0. So we're going to click on add. And then we need to come in here and just configure the IP addressing again. This is going to be the LAN. Again, we're going to put the static IP details in here. So this one is on, let's just double check. So this is 10.2.1.252. The secondary is at 253. So let's go back to the firewall. 10.2.1.252/24. Go down and I'm going to click on save. Now we do need to go over and do it on the other side as well. So go into interface, go to assignments. We're going to do the same thing. So select the VLAN 200 on lag 0. We're going to click on add. So this is LAN. Change this to IPv4. Set this as 10.2.1.253. And we're going to set this to /24. And just go to save. Okay, let's go back to the master firewall because I want to go in here and I want to add the virtual IP for that network. So we're going to click on add. We're going to go to carp. We're going to change this to the LAN. We're going to say this is 10.2.1.254. We're going to set this to /24. Password. I'll leave this. I'm going to set this to maybe 245. Click on save and let's go back and see if that has actually synced across. So into virtual IPs. Okay, yeah, we can see that here now. Now let's go back here because we have one more to do. So we need to add another one for the WAN. So leave it here. We're going to set the carp WAN single IP address 10.1.1.251. Then again /24. pfsense. Let's do 247. This is going to be the WAN VIP. Click on save. Okay, right. Let's have a look at both firewalls. So virtual IPs. Okay, as you can see that is there now. Now we still haven't configured the IP address for the WAN interface, so we need to go in here and we are going to configure this. So we're going to change this from DHCP. We're going to set it to static IPv4 because we know that this firewall should have this 10.1.1.250. So let's go back here and we're going to do that. So go down here. This is 10.1.1.250. This is going to be a /24. Now we do need to configure an upstream gateway. These firewalls are going to talk out. They're going to forward traffic from this firewall to the upstream gateway, which is those Cisco routers that we configured in episode 2. So we're going to click on add new gateway. Here we are going to call it just one gateway is fine. I'm going to put in this IP address and that is 10.1.1. Let me just double check. That one is going to be this 10.1.1.254. So that is the HSRP address that's going to sit between these routers, which means if one of these routers goes down, I'm still going to have a way out of this network. So let's set that. So 10.1.1.254. Let's just call it gateway. I'll do GW. What's happening? HSRP. And then click on add. Go down and all you have to do is click on save. Now we do need to go and do that on the other side as well. So let's go over, while that's saving, let's just go back over to the other firewall. I'm going to go into the interfaces again. I'm going to go to WAN. So change this from DHCP to static IPv4. We're going to go down here and check the IP. So this is going to be 10.1.1.249. Then this is going to be /24. Now the upstream gateway, that should have synced from the other firewall. We created that on the other firewall, so it should be here. So just click on that one. Then we are going to go down and we're going to click on save. Then just click apply changes. So in terms of firewall rules, I'm going to be pretty flexible here, and I'm going to do a lot of any rules. Generally, you would never ever do this in a production environment. For me, I'm just for the purpose of building this lab, I'm going to fly through that part. So let's go back to the master firewall, and I'm going to click on firewall, go down to rules. So under the LAN interface, I'll go add. Right now on this interface, I am just going to go any. I know that's bad, but I am going to do any. It's going to make my life much easier for now. Let's click on save. So technically that's going to allow anything on that 200 subnet or anything basically to come through this firewall. I will maybe come back after, once we've created the core and we've created those other networks, I might actually come back here and modify this so it only allows those particular subnets to come out. Sync we've already done, so anything can go there. Management, we have the firewall rules and management. For DMZ, we haven't actually created anything in here. This is an anti-lockout rule. I'm going to leave this one for now. For WAN, I want to do something here. I want to click on add, and I want to be able to talk to this firewall from my home network. And one of the reasons is that if I add all of these rules here now, and if you have added all of the static routes that you needed back in episode 2, then technically I could access this lab from my browser. I don't need to be in a VNC screen. I should be able to open up like Chrome here and access the lab. So I want to do that. So I'm going to click on pass. I'm going to again set the any. I'm going to say the source is going to be a network. I'm going to add in, so 10.96. I'm going to do 10.0/24. I'm going to click on save. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to say any. This is going to be a network again. 10.96.11.0/24. And hit save. And then let's hit add again, and I'm going to do another one. So this was going to be 10.96.12.0/24. Click save, and you should see those 3 rules there. Hit apply, and that should create those rules. Now let's go back to the other firewall. I want to make sure they have actually come across here as well. And good, you can see them here. So go back to the master. Now there's a few more things I want to do. I want to go into system. I want to go into routing. Now this is how your firewall is going to talk out. So as you can see here, there is already the gateway. So your firewalls know how to get out to the internet. In terms of static routes, whenever I try to connect to these firewalls, the firewalls need to know how to get back out to my home network. So I need to click on add. I am going to add a static route for the 10.96.0 network.0, and I'm just going to do the entire /16 because that is going to make my life much easier. The gateway, so I want it to forward that traffic to the router. So if I'm on my internal network and I want to talk out to the 10.96 network, those devices will know that they have to come to the firewall, and the firewall knows that it has to send that traffic to the routers, and then the routers have those routes that we created already, so that knows how to get out to my home network. So that should all work. So I'm going to go route to 10.96 networks and click on save. Click on apply. Now we'll probably come back here at some point after we've configured the rest of the network stuff, like the core switches and all of those VLANs that sit behind the core switches. We'll have to come back here and add more static routes. Now there's probably one more thing we need to do that I've just remembered before we finish. So if you go back to interfaces and go into assignments, I just want to double check all of this stuff. So the WAN interface here, that is set as VTNet 0, so we need to change that. That needs to be set to VLAN 100 because that's the VLAN between the firewalls and the routers. So we need to communicate out on VLAN 100. So click on that one and just click on save. Once you've done that, just go over to the other firewall, and then we are going to set that as well. So let's just refresh this. Then we're going to change this to VTNet 0, that we're going to set that as VLAN 100. So click on that one and then just click on save. So technically now we have configured all of the interfaces, we've configured all of the rules that we need for now. Let's just double check. I'm on this management interface. Management has any, so we should be able to talk to anything. We have configured the routing. We know how we're going to get to the gateway. We should be able to talk to the other devices like the switches and the routers that we have on the other side of the network. We should even be able to get internet access at this stage, so let's just double check that. So let's open up a terminal. I'm going to start off by 1.254, so and that works. So that is 10.1.1.254. That is this IP. So that is the IP address of the routers. Let's go back to that machine. Let's just see if we can ping Google, and we can. So we have internet access on this lab, which is brilliant. Now let's try and ping Google.com. Is it going to work? I think DNS is on this. Okay, that is responding. Took a few seconds. Perfect. Okay, so far the firewalls look like they're in a decent state. Again, we will come back to the firewalls. We'll probably have to come back a few times whenever we start building all of the other services. I hope I didn't go too fast through this video. If you have any questions at all as part of this build, let me know in the description below. I'll try and go through and answer as many as I can. I really hope you are enjoying this series. If you are, hit the subscribe button. Again, always helps out the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in episode 4.